Hey everybody, I want to address the current state of advice for men. In the current state of advice for men right now, there is a big lie that is kind of being circulated. And the lie is very simple, that we as men are in a brotherhood and we are in this together. This is not true. The majority of men that you're going to meet in your life are not going to be looking out for you. You will have temporary friends who are your temporary allies in one match, like a Call of Duty match, right? I don't know you, but we need to kill the enemy and not die, okay? And so I'm going to treat you like your brother for the time being. I'm going to give you kudos, dap you up, good shot, good ace, whatever. The match ends, probably never going to see you again. I might send you a friend request, we'll hang out a few times, but inevitably we're going to fall apart. This is how you need to see brotherhood. If instead you decide to see brotherhood as this thing where we're really in this together, like truly, this belief is going to cause you a lot of bullshit. I'm trying not to be too dramatic here, right? You're not going to encounter some grievous losses by these men, right? Your best friend fucking your girlfriend, or a guy stealing money from you. Think of really, really dramatic, traumatic things. Those are probably not going to happen too often. If they are, you are a horrible judge of character and you have some very bad karma. What I'm more warning you about is just this sense of security that you get from hanging out with guys who do not have your best interests in mind, and they are not going to bring you towards your goal with any great speed. My best advice to you is to find guys who are on the same path as you. Treat them with as much virtue as you possibly can, as much generosity as you possibly can, as much honesty, right? Because if you want to expect others to treat you really well, you need to treat them well, okay? So if that's lacking, then no wonder you're finding guys who, aren't the best of friends. But if you've got that covered, great, that's your foundation. But I still want you to recognize that on an ideal level and a practical level, most of these guys are just temporary teammates. And you need to see them that way and treat them that way. Because once the utility of their friendship runs out, unless you have a deep bond with this person. Now, I want you to pay attention to that phrase again, because some of the things I'm going to say are going to almost seem hypocritical. Like, oh, so you're just going to treat people. No. As I said, that's why I was very careful about the way I started this. There needs to be a foundation of ethics there. You need to treat men very, very well. Be very kind and very generous. If someone needs help, if you can give it, give it. Okay? I want that to be absolutely, unambiguously clear. However, it is just going to be the reality that once someone's utility runs out, unless you have some great bond with this person, you really shouldn't see the friendship with them as anything special. It's mostly disposable. Okay? And there's an ideal reason and a practical reason. The practical reason is simple. Most guys, you might enjoy being around them for a little bit, but they're not really you just don't like them that much, right? You don't really like them. Okay, they don't have the same sense of humor as you, did this, You just don't spend time doing the same things. You just don't have hobbies and interests in common. Fucking, sometimes my mind is way faster than my mouth. And it's just practically not going to work out. Okay, that's the easy one to understand. The ideal one is the one I was kind of hinting towards earlier. You're not brothers. There is no grand brotherhood of humanity, of men, of beings in the universe. Okay, we are all in this together in the sense that, yes, we are all encountering aging, sickness, and death together, right? But most of us really aren't going to provide that much to the next person. And in the end, everyone needs to be their own best friend. Even when it really down to the nitty gritty comes to the love of your life or your actual best friend, right? On the super, super high level, you are your only refuge in the end, okay? However, on a slightly lower level, when we do encounter those people who truly dramatically change our lives and our brother, our sister, our lover, our mother, our father, our son, our daughter, someone truly close to us, whether by blood or, by just the bond of friendship. Even on that level, you need to recognize that the rarity of finding that person is less than 10 people in your entire life you will meet who truly have that amazing quality. Probably less than 5. Really, 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 they're going to be there for you. It's a spectrum, right? And some people will be closer to that ideal perfection of a brotherhood or a friendship, and some, kind of in the middle. Like, for the most part, they're great. But, once you recognize this, and once you understand that most friendships are about utility or pleasure, you are far less likely to get fucked over, okay? And you can get fucked over in many ways, dramatic or, a nuisance. Most of the time, it's just gonna be in the form of a disappointment of like, that person isn't as generous as I am, or as caring, or they don't seem to be there as much for me as, I am for them. And you may even be this person, right? While I'm making this video, you're watching this and you're like, yeah, I kind of understand what he's saying, or maybe you don't. Maybe you think I'm a fucking idiot. What the fuck is this guy talking about? My guys are my brothers. I don't know. You need to examine whether or not you are the person I'm warning you about, or the person who should be warned. Are you the guy who's truly the good one, or are you not? Because most people who would watch this would be like, yeah, I'm the good friend. I'm the one who always gets, yeah, right? But that's not true, right? That's just, it's not true. In all probability, there's a good chance that you're probably actually the shitty friend. So you really, really need to question whether or not you're the crappy friend or not. I want you to avoid as much unnecessary disappointment as possible. And most of the disappointments that you're going to have in your life are going to be because of the people you choose to have close to you, okay? So your fitness brothers, your finance brothers, the guys who are, it could be even me in some weird sense. Who are you getting your advice from? It's an electronic and almost anonymous friendship, right? You're choosing to get advice from them. You can take this principle and extrapolate it in many different ways, right? The people who you look up on YouTube, the people who you pay for advice, you buy their book, you buy their course, or the friend you choose to spend time around. It's all the same, really. You're paying a currency, whether it's dollars, or it's your time, or your energy, or your generosity. You're always paying a currency, and you're always getting something back in return, or you're not, or you're actually losing something. Okay, you need to start seeing the world as more transactional. This doesn't take away from the beauty of virtue and kindness and generosity and friendship, but it does make it more realistic. It's not one or the other. It's not all some psychopathic transactional universe, and it's not all some fancy-bancy brotherhood, my Spartan brother, we're going to go into... That guy probably would leave you dying, to be completely honest. In most circumstances, if you were bleeding out and he had to choose between possible death and saving you and saving his ass, he's probably going to choose saving his ass. And I mean that in a literal sense, if there was a literal situation, or a metaphorical sense, when there is something less extreme on the line, but he's probably going to choose himself, okay? So, the rant is over. Now, what do we do about it? How do I actually test to see if someone is a brother or not? My best advice would be to test someone in 3 areas: money, women, and status/power, reputation. You can bundle them all kind of together. These are the 3 areas that you're almost always going to see someone fail. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for failure. You loan a guy money. Does he pay it back on time? Does he remember that he owes it to you? Do you have to remind him? How many times do you have to remind him? 1 time? Okay, no big deal. 10 times? Okay, he's probably not going to pay you back. Or is he the kind of guy who's like, hey man, I know you gave me that $5. I'm going to get you back. Oh, I totally forgot. Oh, a great friend, I'll give you the ideal, is always reminding you what he owes you, and he's never reminding you what you owe him. I'm like that. And I have 1 friend who's like that, okay? I can count Chase as well, so maybe 2, right? Chase is a really good guy when it comes to that, and I have a very close friend in my life who is also like this. And the reason why I focus on this one particular example so much is because I am like this. I'm the kind of guy who's like, hey, I owe you this money. I keep it in mind. Sometimes I'll forget if it's really small, like it's $5 here, but I'll be hanging around. I remember when I was out with friends years ago, and I remember that he bought me a drink like a month ago, and I was like, hey man, I totally forgot. You remember that night they did it? And he's like, maybe. I was like, you know what? I owe you a drink. I'm always thinking, how do I balance my checkbook? How do I balance my checkbook? How do I pay the people back in my life who have been gracious and kind to me? That's how I am. I've never met anyone else except for those 2 people who are exact. Oh, and my mother, right? But I'm talking about friends, right? So I've only met 2 guys who are really like that. Everyone else has been a bit lacking in that area. There's a spectrum, right? But those are the 2 guys who are on a similar level to me when it comes to that level of generosity, okay? And I've met a lot of fucking people in my life. So that's lending money. If you have a lot of money, do they try to, get you to pay for stuff? Do they really enjoy when you pay for stuff? Are you very generous with your friends, but they're not equally generous, right? You can take this and start to think of what examples, with money, can I see someone's flaw, right? When they don't have money, do you see them start to turn into conniving little bastards, right? Or when they have a lot of money, do they start to get very arrogant and pompous and shove it in your face and flaunt it? So many possible variations of corruption can be seen when it comes to money. Women, this is probably the strongest one. I don't think I've ever seen anything as strong as women. Is he the kind of guy, once he gets a girlfriend, he just fucking disappears and doesn't hang out with you anymore? Is he the kind of guy who starts to change because of his girlfriend, right? He starts to adapt to her personality, looking to either consciously or subconsciously, right, just to please her, or it just kind of happens because he doesn't have a strong internal frame of who he is, so he just adapts to who he's with. Does he start to take on her opinions? And if she doesn't like you, does that start to change his behavior towards you? Or if it's not a girlfriend, when there's a hot girl around, does he put you down, even sometimes in very subtle, weird ways? Does his body language shift and he starts to kind of try to act more dominant around you? Or is he the kind of guy who's like, hey man, yeah, I think she likes you, or you should go for it, right? And you get your best shot, and then once you get your best shot, then it's his chance, right? That's generally the gentleman's agreement. Like, hey, go give your best shot. If it doesn't work out, I gave you your shot. I'm going to give it mine. We're not going to get jealous of each other. Best man win. That's usually the best way you go about it. And even more, you can go further with that. Like, you should be going out of your way to help your friends get laid. You should be trying to make sure that the whole team eats together, okay? How many guys are truly actually like that? And you have to test this when either of you are in scarcity or abundance, right? You're having a bad week or a bad month. You just got broken up with your girlfriend. You're kind of lonely. You're kind of down. But he's got all these girls, da da da. Is he trying to help you out, right? Or is he just flaunting it and acting cool and better than you, okay? Or vice versa. When you're in abundance with girls and he's in scarcity, is he getting jealous and resentful of you? Or is he still supportive of like, hey man, I'm happy for you, da da? I mean, all of us deep down have evil in our hearts. We have greed in our hearts. We have jealousy, envy, avarice, aversion, all of these things, right? It's what someone does with these bad qualities that determines their character, right? Are they trying to restrain themselves with regards to these bad qualities? Or do they you're going to see these things in people's eyes. Like, if your friend pulls a really hot girl and you're going home alone, you're going to feel a little bit bad. I mean, you can feel both good for him and bad at the same time, right? But which wins out? Which one is more dominant? And you have to pay close attention to people's eyes, body language, their words, their tonalities, to see what they're truly feeling and what they're choosing to do with those feelings. But women is one of the greatest determiners of someone's character. Whether when they have a girl and you don't, you have a girl they don't, or a girl that they likes you, or vice versa. How do they act? Test a man until you see him without hose and with hose, and you without hose or with hose, you both with hose, you both without hose. You're never going to know really what he's like, because you don't know a man until he's hungry and he's desperate and he's a loser. So that's the third one, right? Status, power, right? When this guy doesn't have his shit, he's not popular, people don't like him as much, he's not as well respected, how does he act? Is he generous and kind and happy for you when you have the spotlight, when you have attention, when you have popularity? Or is he resentful? Do you see him kind of looking like, I wish I had that? You need to pay attention to that, okay? And if he fails in any of these areas, right, maybe he doesn't necessarily do something immoral, like he doesn't act out on it, but if you see enough of it in his heart, you just need to realize this guy probably is just a ticking time bomb. Like I said, he's not going to do anything horrible to you most of the time, but you still don't want someone around you with that in their heart too much, okay? It's just not giving you anything. So that's what I mean by seeing things a little bit more transactionally, okay? Now, if you like hanging around him, you really care about him, of course, stay with him. I'm not saying you need to cut people when they're no longer useful to you. What I'm saying is you need to be careful with who you hang out with, because they're going to have an effect on you. Maybe that's a little bit less psychopathic way of kind of coloring the situation. So in these areas, and you look at your friend groups and your past friend groups and your past friendships, can you take these three lenses and kind of apply them to the person and say, you know what, did they really pass that test? Or why did that friendship not work out? Did it have to do with either of these areas? Probably. I mean, that's pretty much everything that you can imagine. You know, anything can pretty much fit under one of these categories. And so I want to really, really caution you to avoid believing that most of the men you're going to meet are your brothers. They're not your brothers. We're not all this in together. We're not all going to make it together. Most people are going to fail. A lot of people are going to be kind of mediocre. Some are going to be great, and very, very, very few are going to be great and good. And once you accept this sober reality, it's not cynical, it's not nihilistic, but it's also not idealistic and, naive. Your life is going to get a lot easier because you're going to not put any security in others. The more security you can put in yourself, the better. However, people can still really be helpful. Like I said, you're still in that match with that guy, and you have to kill the enemy together, right? So you want him to get as many kills and as least deaths as possible, and you want to do the same. And if you can help him out to do that, and he can help you, great. Play your 1 match, your 5 matches, your 10 matches, your 30 matches, your 100 matches together, right? But very few guys are going to be the ones who you play 1,000 matches together. And they're actually looking out for you and covering your 6, okay? So evaluate your friend groups, both past and present and future, anyone that you're considering for a friend group. And realize that there's a very high chance he's only a temporary brother, and that's fine. You don't have to look down on him or treat him differently. You need to treat him very well. You should treat your best friends the same way you meet a random stranger. The only difference is how many times you treat them that way, because you're going to spend more time around the guy who's really close to you, because you're choosing to spend a lot of time around him because he benefits your life and you benefit his. But treat everyone equally, treat everyone with kindness and respect. But most men are not your brothers. They're not your friends, not truly. They're just a teammate you're going to play 1 match with. Go forth with this new knowledge, and may you prosper, okay? Hector Castillo, girlschase.com. Please like, subscribe, ring the bell. I hope you've enjoyed this social circle advice, and I will see you very soon. Ciao.